to East of Eden Readings. I am your consciousness coordinator, Reverend Rock, aka Raheem. And tonight we're going to discuss the genealogy of Isis, aka Genesis. I'm going to break down in depth the arcane secrets, the esoteric meaning behind the book of Genesis, and where we came from, the 144,000 chosen. I'm going to begin by quoting a verse from the Bible. Genesis chapter 1, verses 25 through 27 in particular. And God made the beast of the earth after his kind, and cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And God saw that it was good. The beast of the earth, they're talking about the Neanderthals, the Cro-Magnons, the Homo erectus, so forth and so on. Take a look at that movie on what's it called? A Quest for Fire. That's a good movie. It came out like in the 80s, the early 80s. But check that out. In any event, and God said, let us make man in our image, meaning that there's more than one God, more than one El, which the plural form is Elohim, as I explained to you in my previous videos. Let us make man in our image, after our likeness. So we're like the Anunnaki, we're like the Elohim, we're like the Neteru, but we're not them, because we have a Neanderthal beast. We're in this body, so we're half light and we're half physical. We're half atomic and half matter. Can I say it right? Because atoms are physical, so I can't use that as a good analogy. That was a bad analogy, because atoms are physical. Let's just say, put it on the safe side, say spiritual. After our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air. Fowl, spelled F-O-W-L. And it's a metaphor. You have to remember, the Bible is written in allegory. When it speaks of the fowl of the air, it's talking about the spirits, the demons, and the entities that are floating, ebb and flow through this material realm and the metaphysical realm. In any event, and over the cattle and over the earth, all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. The key word there is creepeth. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female created he them. Meaning that they was both created together. They was androgynous, meaning having male and female genitalia. You know? It was the Magen David, the triangle up and the triangle down, which represent the womb and the phallus, which is a fancy name for penis. In any event, Genesis 3:21, King James Version, it says, unto Adam also and to his wife did the Lord God make coats of skins, and clothed them. Again, allegory. You see, at this point, Adam and Eve didn't have a physical body. They wasn't in that Neanderthal. They wasn't in the Cro-Magnon. They were strictly metaphysical beings, immaterial beings, Etherians, as the Nuwapians were so eloquently put it. So when it says that God clothed them, he gave them a physical body. He clothed them with coats of skins. Coats of skins. Organs. Systems. You know, what is this? The epidermis, the largest system in the body. Coats of skins. He gave us organs and systems. Well, because remember it said, let us make man in our image. The orgasm is the original sin. After Adama and Hava were separated from an androgynous being unto two separate entities, meaning Adam and Eve, obviously, one masculine and the other feminine, and is the catalyst on why we are here trapped in this physical dimension. Hence the discovery and the insatiable desire for the orgasm, the homo lux, which is Latin for light. Lux is Latin for light. The homo light began to reproduce, as opposed to the homo sapien. With the production came passion and possessiveness for the progenitors of the offspring, and organisms now produced children. With the new phenomenon of childbearing came possessiveness, feelings, fear, and all the morbid things that physical realm encompasses. It was forbidden to partake in intercourse for pleasure. It was a sacred event that was always chaperoned by a cherubim or a jabarium to unite in a spiritual marriage for the intent of manifesting and not for immediate gratification. That's where we messed up. That's where it got out of hand. The creative dynamic of the sex act becomes a reproduction from immaterial unto matre, aka mother or matter. That is why Eve is the mother / matter of the living. The serpent is a metaphor for the desire to become one flesh. Again, because remember, we were created androgynous. Remember the verse I just read to you. He and she, he created them and her, them. You know, I'm paraphrasing. They, the Elohim, which is plural for the El, which is Hebrew for God, the plural form, as it was originally written in the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Elohim separated the androgynous being unto two complementing factors. The tree of knowledge represents the act of coitus. The word know in the Bible is allegorical for sex. In Genesis it says, and Adam knew his wife, and she bore children. Roughly 50,000 years ago, a group of humans migrated out of Africa and interbred with Neanderthals in Eurasia. But that's not the only time that our ancient human ancestors and their relatives swapped DNA. The sequencing of genomes from Neanderthals and a less well-known ancient group, the Denisovians, has yielded many new insights into these interbreeding events and into the movement of ancient human populations. In the new paper, the researchers developed an algorithm for analyzing genomes that can identify segments of DNA that come from other species, even if that gene flow occurred thousands of years ago and came from an unknown source. They used the algorithm to look at genomes from two Neanderthals, a Denisovian, and two African humans. The researchers found evidence that 3% of the Neanderthal genome came from ancient humans, and estimate that the interbreeding occurred between 200,000 years and 300,000 years ago. Furthermore, 1% of the Denisovan's genome likely came from an unknown and more distant relative, possibly Homo erectus, and about 50% of these super archaic regions may have been passed down to modern humans who are alive today. Genesis 6:3-4, King James Version. And the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man. Meaning, when it says spirit, means that ethereal being that we are. You must understand, we're hybrids. We're half ethereal, we're half physical. We're in both dimensions. We have access to both. That is why we sleep. So we're interacting in our unconscious minds and at other dimensions, which are 13, by the way, but that's another story in itself. I will make a video on the 13 dimensions and why the number 13 is taboo and supposedly evil, because they don't want you to know that there's 13 of you. There are 13 of you existing simultaneously. And the Lord God said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh. See? Spirit, flesh. So ye must die. The flesh must die. Remember, this body is only a vehicle that the real you, the authentic you, is driving. That's what flesh represents, the metaphysical, the Cain versus the Abel, the serpent and the eagle. In all ancient cultures. Yet his day shall be 120 years. There were giants in the earth in those days. And also after that, when the sons of God, when the sons of the Elohim, meaning the offspring of the mighty ones, the watchers, the Neteru, the Anunnaki, their children bore children to the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. The same became mighty men which were of old men of renown, the Nephilim. And that is why Anu had a meeting with all the Anunnaki, that when his planet ship came in proximity of the earth, it was going to cause a cataclysmic event, the deluge. You know, the story about Noah's Ark. And all the Anunnaki took an oath not to warn the Neanderthals, the Cro-Magnons, and the Homo erectus that was having intercourse with the Anunnaki, causing all these half-breeds, and it was doing all these fornications and sodomy and all this foolishness that was against naturalness, the natural order of things, for a lack of a better term. It destroyed them. The intention was to destroy all the interbreedings, all the interbreds, all the hybrids, to start over anew. They took the DNA of every species on this planet because they wanted to replenish the planet. They don't want to take away from the earth, from Terra, from Gaia, whatever you want to call it, from Geb. They didn't want to take away from her natural order of things. They didn't want to disrupt the order. which they already did by interbreeding with the Neanderthals and coming here and mixing and splicing genes and DNA and stuff. And when they saw that it got out of hand, they needed to fix it, to rectify it. So they knew that when their planet came into the proximity of this planet, Earth, Terra, whatever you want to call it, Geb, it was going to cause a cataclysmic event. Polar caps were going to melt and cause a deluge, a flood, for a lack of a better term. And they took an oath not to warn the humans. But Enki loved his creation so much that he broke the oath and told Noah. And that is why a lot of us still exist today, because we seep through the crevices. We seep through the seams. Because Enki, our creator, loved us that much. But you must understand, it's not all of us. Don't be misled by all of this foolishness and prophesizing that's going on. There's only 144,000 chosen. Yeah, y'all slammed the face, y'all slammed your doors and ignored the doctrines of the Jehovah's Witness. Now, of course, everybody knows I'm not with no denomination. I am the denomination. I am the algorithm. But again, you have to give credit where credit is due. And for their main point, the Jehovah's Witnesses is on to something. It's only 144,000 that's going to go back to Ilium, which is our original dimension. But for now, we're trapped here in this perpetual prison that we're in. This is our punishment for wanting to indulge and partake of the sexual act and the orgasm. We are eternal beings. Energy cannot be destroyed. It's only transferred from one place to another. Spirit is just another terminology for the entity, your God particle, your God entity. And it's eternal. Spirit is just Greek for energy. And again, energy cannot be destroyed. It's only transferred from one place to another. So yeah, of course, this physical, I can't stress it enough, this physical body decays, and yes, it goes. But that thing inside you, that when you don't use your mouth, your physical mouth, and your physical eyes, and your physical ears, your physical five senses that they told you that you only have, and you can say your name in your mind, and you hear it clearly, that entity is eternal. Don't let them fool you. Now, I understand why they would hide that type of information from the masses. I get it. Because there's a lot of kooks out there. If everybody knew that if their spirit is eternal, and they'll just die and just come back on their mother's side, hell, they'll give it a shot to do all types of crimes and atrocities under that dynamic. So I get it. It's wise not to let them know. You know, keep it from the profane. But that's not your judgment. That's not your call. In other words, mind your business, human. And divulge this information. It's not your job to be the custodian of this and keep it to yourself. The genealogy of Isis or Set. Isis or Set. Isis is the Greek word for Set. Her real name is Set. The mother of Haru. That Jesus story. pardon me, excuse me, that Jesus story is an exact replication of the Horus, Osiris, and Isis story. The Joseph, Mary, and Jesus story. And just think, and speaking of which, now that it's Christmas time, just think about this. Why do you think that Yahshua, because that's what his real name is, Yahshua, Jesus, had all those powers? His mother had a miraculous virgin birth. Yeah, right. No. And Anunnaki, Gabriel, remember them L's are short for Elohim. Gabriel, Ezekiel, Micah L, as in Michael. In any event, Gabriel, which is the demon angel that's ruling this physical realm, had intercourse with Mary. You have to understand, they love these sexual encounters with these beasts, as the Bible so eloquently put it. These Neanderthals, these Cro-Magnons, these Homo erectus, they just cannot stop having intercourse with them. And Gabrielle got married and pregnant and have Jesus. So of course, he's a hybrid. Half flesh, half spirit. Half Gabriel, half Elohim, El, and half matter, physical, the beast. And he knew how to tap into his spiritual side, his God side, his Elohim side, to do the miracles. From the bloodline of David, the bloodline of David, the Levite. Like I said again, only 144,000 chosen. But don't worry, you'll be fine. Peace. I'm the Reverend Rock of East of Eden Readings, aka Raheem. I love you. I can't stress that enough. I love y'all. In any event, don't let phantoms of the past haunt the evolution of your future. Assume control here. East of Eden Readings. Because the most important time of your life is now. Peace. Oh, and may all of your positive aspirations manifest unto fruition.